2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn dope into DFS pros.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is your DFS Army Bold Calls for Friday. Yeah, this is January 11th, 2019. And I am your host today, BoomersDaddy. Joining me on the show, as always, is Mr. Bear here. What is up, brother?
Hey, man. How are you?
I was doing good up until about 5 minutes ago when I saw that DJ LeMahieu looks to be signing a deal with the New York Yankees.
Oh, crap. He sold his soul, didn't he?
Well, the Rockies weren't going to bring him back anyways. I don't know why. Actually, I kind of do. But they signed Daniel Murphy, which is okay. But Daniel Murphy can play a couple different positions, and we've got some middle infielders coming up that are more inclined to take some more spots. And it's one of those things that is kind of nice to be able to work some of these younger guys in. We're probably going to play a lot of Ian Desmond out in left field. Probably, Cargo's a free agent, so we won't have to worry about that. There's a lot of stuff going on, which is fine. I have no problems with that whatsoever, but I wasn't expecting the Yankees. So,
yeah.
It's like they're getting back the middle infield for the Rockies of a couple years ago. They signed Tulo, which I told my wife I was going to have to buy a Tulo jersey, especially if he wears the number 17, just because, Tulo's my boy, man.
I know.
So, but yeah, it was, I just texted her. I was like, DJ's going to be signing with the Yankees as well. She goes, really? Why? And I was like, not sure. Best deal, maybe? She's like, that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
So
it's also a lot of money, so I get it.
Yeah, and it's a good park for him. Good move for him. Probably a good move for the Yankees, but as a Rockies fan, two-time Gold Glove winner, former batting champ, one of the most probably cerebral NBA or MLB players that I've seen in a while, and it's just kind of one of those things that happens in baseball. It's a business.
Indeed.
So.
All right, back to NBA.
Yeah,
I want to bring something up. That is, so I've been talking about it for probably 2 years. We've been talking about it just on our recent podcast with TJ McBride, beat writer for the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic put up another triple-double last night.
Yeah, but that wasn't the highlight.
No, it wasn't the highlight. I'll get to the highlight.
Okay.
We know what your personal highlight was, but the highlight of the game was definitely his triple-double. And so the guy just doesn't cease to amaze. I don't know. It's just when you think, okay, he got in foul trouble, crap, he's a bad play. He still puts up 54. He comes back in. There was one play, I posted it in our chat, in our NBA chat. He gets the rebound with one hand, turns around. It wasn't even like a pause to assess. It was rebound, turn around, full court, one arm pass like Joe Montana to a streaking Jamal Murray for the dunk. I don't. the question was like, how do you even know that he was there? And I looked at the play over again, and I'm like, okay, so when the shot went up, um, Jamal was closing out on the shooter, and so he had already passed him as the shot went up. So Jokic saw he was already diving, right? He was already streaking to the other side. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's how we knew. And I keep on watching and watching and watching and watching. I'm like, that's how we knew. But I mean, we have some really good centers in our league that are really good passers. I don't know if anybody can touch him. So pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, that was my highlight. Yeah, the triple double was nice. Everything was fantastic on that front, but the pass was like, I dare to say this because you're a big Lakers honk, but that pass was Magic-esque, man. Like there are very, very, very few like gifted court readers and passers. There are even fewer, like you said, big men that can do that. But my gosh, he was just absolute like.
So you mentioned Magic, which is funny because David Fizdale said he's a 7'2" Magic Johnson.
Fizz said that?
Yeah. That's a direct quote. He's a 7'2" Magic Johnson. I mean,
wow, that's high praise, man.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty amazing. But
yeah, so that was pretty good. And then let's talk a little bit about what happened last night in San Antonio. First off, it was I'm gonna shout out to my boy Answer. Okay, Here's the reason why. He said that DeMar DeRozan's upside wasn't limited because PG-13 was going to be on him last night. Paul George, obviously a very, very, very good defender. Do you want to take a guess at what DeMar DeRozan's value was last night on FanDuel? He was $9K.
4.5x?
4.9 actually. Okay. Which to me, just to make sure my understanding is complete, to me that's doing his job.
Yeah.
That basically meant there was no upside. Yes, he put up 44 fantasy points. But when you take price into consideration, he just did his job. And I would even argue that on a short slate, he didn't do his job because he needed to get more. But that's my argument.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit two-sided. First of all, he wasn't in any of the top lineups, at least not for the larger tournaments. That was Westbrook and Aldridge. Second of all, Aldridge, and someone just brought up TD just brought up a good point that it took 2 overtimes for him to get to 4.9. Right?
Actually, technically, it did not because he only scored 1.2 fantasy points in the 2 overtimes combined.
There you go.
He was at 4.6x at the end of regulation. And that was even my argument. I was like, we can't even count what he does in overtime because that was never part of the argument because you're not guaranteed overtime, let alone 2 overtimes.
Yeah.
So that was part of my argument about it.
Yeah. So fair enough. And so I also want to point out that Aldridge was, career high. Like you already know what he did. Not just the fantasy total, but actual points. He put up 56 points, like actual points. He put up 78 fantasy points, and he had 5 turnovers. He would have hit over 80 with a couple less turnovers. But so when you got a guy going like that, it doesn't make any sense for DeRozan to do the same, right? To start shooting up shots. And I'm not saying he wasn't like we knew very well that he was going to have Paul George on him. Yet it didn't stop him from being, well over 30. I think he was closer to 40% on FanDuel ownership. And look, like what I like about DeRozan in last night's matchup was you're not going to get a 20 from him. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to get 2x from him. Like, and if George is shutting him down, DeRozan is a very good rebounder. He's been getting a ton of assists. So the floor is pretty solid, and I'm okay with that. But but going into tournaments, you don't want a guy that you need, basically one of your highest priced guys, being defended by Paul George. It's not what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So now Trop's trolling. I do need to have you keep an eye on the chat. For some reason it's not working on my OBS stream, so
okay,
keep an eye on that, and we'll get going here. We got 9 games today. We don't have a total under the 216 mark. Had some big news hit about 30 minutes before we came on. That's why we had to move it back a little bit. But man, it is a jam-packed slate today. There's not a spread closer than 5.5. There are 3 over the 12.5 mark. And then you've got everything in between. You've got 3 more over 8.5. Part of it is going to be avoiding the blowouts. But with the 3 over 12, which is the Philly-Atlanta game, the Houston-Cleveland game, and the Golden State-Chicago game, everybody was talking about trying to kind of avoid players in these games or be careful with them because of the fact that, they could blow out, which they're partly right. You don't want to go, 100% on Steph Curry because of the fact that the blowout's real. The blowout factor is real, but you still don't want to predict it. Don't avoid these guys because of it. I want to stress this enough because I said that I only think, I would not be shocked if only one of these blew out. Like if 2 of these games were close into the fourth quarter. Now they shouldn't be, mind you. They really shouldn't be. But I would not be shocked at all if they were.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these games that I like too. I mean, we've seen time and time again that we avoid games because we think, oh, they're going to blow out, blah, blah, blah. And then, it's a barn burner. So I like to identify, what those games are that I like the most, and we start attacking those in tournaments. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Yep, exactly. So, all right, here, let's get going here. Going to be a fun slate today, and obviously on Fridays it always is. Point guards, let's start it out. And no more yawning on your part because you should have had coffee by now.
I ran out, dude.
You don't run out of coffee.
Didn't have enough time before we started live to go get another cup.
Alrighty here. As we get the ticker up and rolling for the spreads, we see this here. Point guards. Ben Simmons is going to be pretty popular, having the best ADVP matchup on the board. He's also got the best and one rating, which is a special rating that you get through our VIP system. Guys, it's really kind of important to realize and understand. He's projected the highest at 9,300, but he's not my favorite point guard play of the day, barring how the news hits anyways.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know. I see the upside, but I don't know if he hits the upside. There's other targets on the Sixers that I would rather have, except for a sprinkle in a tournament here or there.
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of sprinkle too, but I'm with you. He's the thing about it is with the Hawks, the last games, you're expecting them to get clocked, and they just don't. And so if it's a situation where they don't, then Simmons can get there. But you've got Embiid, you've got Butler. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you got Korkmaz and Shamit. They've got other. I mean, and listen, those guys are scorers. Ben Simmons is not a scorer, so it doesn't take away from him. But I do like to see him get 15 to 18 points along with his other peripherals to get to where I want him to get to. And it's certainly just a really good matchup for that. So,
yeah, it's kind of one of those things that I'm sitting here looking at. Like 93 is a fair price to pay on FanDuel. He's 8,900 on DK. I can go get him on DK where I can get the double, triple bonus and pay less, and it's a lot better for me. It's one of the many spots where I can see a lot of people kind of going to, but I might be playing a lot of the fade card on FanDuel tonight with this anyways.
Yeah. I just found out that Jokic's nickname is Big Honey. Like nobody on the team calls him Joker. It's
shut up.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to like. I can't even remotely think that. So
yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so before we got to get back on the rails here. I got an interesting little ping pong that I'm kind of interested in here. It's the Damian Lillard, Kemba Walker ping pong. I don't know how much of it I'm going to have, but one of the reasons I like it is because Kemba's in one of those funks. And when he gets on one of these, he seems to break out in a really, really, really big way. Like, for his career, he's shooting 41.7% from the field. This year, right now, it's 43.7%. Over the last couple games, like, it's 33%, 35%, 27%. And that's coming off of a stretch where he was averaging almost 57 or 54% from the field. Like, he had a 7 game stretch right after we talked about him going into Cleveland, coming off of the Lakers blowout, that he just absolutely tore it up. And he's in one of those little funks again. It's not quite as bad as it was, but he's there.
But hang on. So that Clippers game, he was playing really well until they told Beverly, go stick him. And dude, I saw that game. Beverly didn't let him move. Like, he couldn't even get the ball on the inbounds. He just completely. I don't think Portland has anybody that plays that kind of defense. So, I mean, he struggled for a few games for sure. But I'm pretty comfortable going to Kemba. I don't want to say Lillard doesn't. No, not many guys in the world play defense like Beverly does. So, because before Beverly came in the game, Kemba was scoring a lot at will. So, I like going there today.
Yeah, it's and I love the ping pong matchup there with these two. Giannis Antetokounmpo is doubtful. Now, the guy I'm going to talk about, he's questionable, so we're going to have to watch this as the day goes on. But if he plays, I really do like Eric Bledsoe tonight.
It's hard not to. Especially with news that Giannis isn't going to play. I mean, he's going to be really popular, and he's really cheap on FanDuel.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's what,
really
6,200.
67.
So yeah, it's going to
For
be
a
hard
guy,
to pass on him.
he's got 55-point upside. I mean, versus Washington, who doesn't, play the best defense, to be
Nope.
polite. So
Exactly. So outside of that, man, you're looking at guys like Jeff Teague is in a decent spot. Dallas isn't nearly as good on the road as they are at home. And but we did just get word that Derrick Rose is probably going to play or be available, so that kind of gives him a little bit of a hit. If you've got guys like Spencer Dinwiddie could end up having a decent game. If Kyle Lowry ends up missing, I know Lowry's kind of iffy when it comes to whether or not he's going to play. As of right now, he's in. But, this is a guy that's been dealing with back spasms and stuff.
Yeah, I gotta tell you,
week or so.
I'm really hoping he plays because he's one of my favorite plays.
Lowry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got him up there pretty much too.
And I want us to remember what happened last time these two teams played. This was kind of the get them back on track, wake up, game for the Nets, which is shocking because they're, Toronto's one of the best teams in the league, certainly defensively, and that game was, I think it was, I don't remember if it went into overtime, frankly, but I know it was a really high scoring game. So yeah, I mean, I like it too much. And Brooklyn, I think bringing DeMar Carroll more into the rotation than they have has really helped them.
He looks healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I don't know if Brooklyn fans are going to hate me for not saying this or not, but I think they're a lot better without Hollis Jefferson. I like Hollis Jefferson. I think he's a really good NBA player. I think he's a good defender.
I don't think he fits on that team.
Yeah, he's just not part of them. Exactly. That's just what it is.
Not the way that they're constructed anyways.
And so, anyways, those things have definitely helped them. But that game versus Brooklyn, versus Toronto, rather, really woke up. So I also like, because I think Brooklyn's going to go unowned. You're going to see everyone's going to look at Toronto and say, oh, they play good defense, which they do. But take a look at some of the scores lately. The Raptors are also giving up a lot of points as of late. That score, that total is, over 222. So it's not exactly, slow. For some perspective, the Cavs and the Rockets are at 216.5. Nets and Raptors are at 222.5. A game that people would consider much less defense, Dallas and Minnesota, is just 224.5. So it's right there. You're right in range, and you're going to have significantly less ownership on Brooklyn than you are anywhere else. And so I like both of those.
Yeah, I mean, value's opening up, and it's going to continue to open up throughout the afternoon. If you're looking at one of the main spots to kind of attack as far as like those sneaky game stacks that he was just talking about, Toronto Brooklyn is definitely not a bad way to go. We'll talk about another one a little bit later at a different position, but there's some value there at a more defined roles that are opening up. So it's always something that I look at when we talk about, interest on certain players. Outside of like those guys, when you start looking at some of this value that's available, Corey Joseph is playing some pretty heavy minutes for being a backup point guard.
Yeah.
Him and Darren Collison are kind of splitting time now. He's still under 4K on FanDuel. Like I said, we mentioned Kemba. Damian Lillard's under 9K He is, I believe, questionable. Yeah, he's questionable with the elbow, so maybe if you want to take a shot on him, he's probably going to see a little bit lower ownership. If Eric Bledsoe misses, George Hill is going to be a pretty chalky value play at $3,800. There's some value here that could open up. I personally like in tournaments Colin Sexton. He's playing 30 minutes. He's now below 4 or 5K. He's $4,500. Yes, he's scoring dependent, and it all matters on whether or not his shot's falling. But when you're sitting there looking at it, if you want to play the ownership leverage card and fade Jordan Clarkson and just play, because Colin Sexton has probably got just as easy as a matchup as Jordan Clarkson and the two guards there for Cleveland. Because Austin Rivers isn't particularly good on defense either. So if Clarkson's shots are not falling and Sexton gets going, he could be the sneaky play, the forgotten play out of that backcourt. And in tournaments, I really like him as an ownership leverage pivot.
Yeah, I looked at him. I mean, it's tough because you talk about a rookie wall. I mean, he's really been in it, and I want to be in a situation where when he does break out of that rookie wall, he's on my team. And yeah, certainly, against the defensive Austin Rivers, high probability.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't broke 60 since that game against Atlanta. And it's awfully weird because him and Jordan Clarkson seem to be in direct correlation with one another. They're both kind of the same player, I would think, or I kind of think. They're score first, pass later. And
Clarkson isn't. Clarkson is either shoot or miss. There's no pass.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
There's no pass for second. There's just no pass period.
Okay, maybe the fifth thing that crosses his mind after where he's going for dinner that night and, how he could have handled the transfer out of the University of Tulsa better and all that is to pass to somebody else. But against the Pelicans, he finally got back up to the double-digit shots. This is a guy that was averaging 16 to 17 shots a game, and he's been at 12, 8, and 12 the last 3 games. So it's all about the shot attempts, and if he can get in a groove and get going. And I think if they get him involved early, it could end up being a pretty good night. Like I said, it's a tournament play only, and it's only if you're making multiple lineups. And he's a contending for a drop score, but I do like him as an option, and he will be in a couple of my lineups on FanDuel.
I don't hate it.
Cool. Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be out. These guards for Dallas are kind of hard to figure out sometimes. We like going to JJ Barea. He's never a guy that's going to put up a 50, but he can put up a 30. Well, it's got to be a career night. But against Minnesota, I mean, I don't hate it.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it either. I just think Luka's the play there.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Luka here in just a moment.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying I think Luka takes away from what Barea can do in terms of that ceiling you're talking about that's not there now. Sure. It's because of that, and when DSJ is not there, it's just all Luka. So, it might look a little bit different now.
Yeah, so let's talk about shooting guards here, and we'll get on to our boy Luka. Obviously, we don't need you to tell James, or we don't need to tell you, why James Harden is a good play today. Obviously, usage. I thought he was. We don't need to tell you that Austin Rivers is, too cheap for the amount of minutes that he's actually playing. Is the question is he going to produce the fantasy points in order to be useful in tournaments? I think he's a fine cash game play. With Eric Gordon out, he's playing a ton of minutes. Probably would take the fade route on tournaments just because of, what the ownership might be.
Yeah.
But, Chris Middleton, if both Bledsoe and Giannis are out, is along with Malcolm Brogdon, like these two guards right here are it's very, very difficult to kind of pinpoint. I think they're both playable. And I think you can play both in the same lineup.
Yeah, I agree.
But is it worth like going core on both of them if both Bledsoe and Giannis are out?
Can you say that again?
I said, is it worth going core on them if both Bledsoe and Giannis are out? Hi, Mrs. Bear.
She can't hear you. Who are you talking about? Middleton and Brogdon? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't play both. I would be happy playing one versus the other. Obviously, Brogdon being the cheaper one, Middleton being the higher ceiling one. But I definitely wouldn't be able to do both.
Oh, dang it. You just ruined it. Like, I seriously, like, one of the two is going to be in, like, 90% of my lineups tonight.
Yeah. But
I like the idea of playing both of them in the same lineup in my Fade Harden lineups just because I don't think a lot of people are going to do it. And the ownership, because Brogdon's pretty much going to run the point when George Hill's not on the court. Middleton can actually handle the ball as well, but I like the idea of getting both of those guys in the same lineup for the combined ownership grouping.
Yep.
And getting a quasi cheat code with Malcolm Brogdon if Bledsoe's out. Now that's the only way I would do it is if Bledsoe ends up being out. But if Bledsoe's in, then this whole conversation, these last 3 minutes have been a moot point. So, and the guys in the staff in chat room they're trying to troll me to get me off point. So, okay. So we've kind of hem-hawed around it enough. You want to talk about Mitchell or Doncic first?
Pretty much both in the exact same position. So which one's pricier?
Doncic is $100
Doncic
more.
By 100. All right, so let's start with Doncic. So Dennis Smith is out. Most likely, they're going to start Luka at the point guard. Whether they start him there or not, he's the point guard. It doesn't matter. Ball's going to be in his hands. Now he's got that assist upside that I've been waiting for. Like when DSJ was gone and Luka went on a 5-6 game streak of like 50s or whatever it was, he was at 9K. Luka's a 9K player right now without DSJ. That price is reflective of DSJ being in the lineup. He's not. There's no way I'm not playing him. I don't see. I'm going to pair him and Harden. I'm going to pair him and Mitchell. I'm going to pair him and some of these other guys that I like. But he's my core play tonight.
Okay. Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Sure.
And let's give the viewers and everybody listening kind of an idea of how we handle things behind the scenes between me, you, and Luce, and Haster as well. He and and Texas Derek. I mean, the five of us, we talk all the time, and we bounce plays off of each other based on, what we see and how we do it in our research, because like we'll look at things and we'll see something completely different. We've talked about on the show how bad or how big the split is for Dallas between home and road. So let me give you an idea. They've played 21 road games, the Dallas Mavericks have, okay? And we're talking about Luka Doncic. His steals are less, his assists are less, his rebounds are more. The free throw percentage, or the free throws, are down. The 3-point attempts are up, but the total field goals are up. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting, okay? The personal fouls on the road are almost half of what they are at home. I don't understand that, but this is why that's important. Less likely, according to trends, to get into foul trouble, even against a team like the Timberwolves, who don't have a lot of guys that are probably going to get him into foul trouble, because I don't see him on Karl-Anthony Towns. He's going to have Taj Gibson. He's going to have some combination of Taj and Dario Saric, and like they're not going to get, Luke into foul trouble. So we know he's going to play a full complement of minutes unless he just decides that he wants to take a break and he's going to foul, which is actually kind of important. But his field goal percentage, this is where it gets a little dicey. 41% compared to 46% at home. So 41% on the road. His free throw percentage, 76% at home, 70% on the road. His true shooting percentage goes down 4 percentage points. His usage is up, and I'm not applying that tonight because of the situation. So, because his usage is going to be skyrocketing. Everything except for this, his 3-point percentage on the road is 4 percentage points higher than at home, which is very, very odd for an NBA player nowadays, because they typically shoot better at home.
Yeah.
So if there was maybe a reason to kind of lean more towards Donovan Mitchell tonight on FanDuel, where there's only $100 difference and you don't get any bonus points for a 3-point shot, that might be, combined with some ownership, which I think they're both going to be chalky along with Harden.
Yeah.
That might be.
But how do you
the way to go?
How do you identify or justify high ownership when you've literally got the most talent pool wise? I mean, Harden, Beal, Depot, Mitchell, Middleton, Doncic, D'Angelo, Clay, CJ, Brogdon.
Sexy new toys.
I mean, there's just there's just so much here. And I think Harden is going to take at least 50%. So at least. So you've got the rest of that field of shooting guards. You got to pick one. DK got to pick, maybe a couple more. But for the most part, you're not picking 5. So it's going to be difficult for me to determine who that second chalky guy is. It's probably going to be Luka, just because of the fact that DSJ is out, and a lot of people are going to level Andrew Wiggins' defense and that kind of stuff. But it's I don't know if Mitchell's going to be as chalky as Luka and Harden are.
Okay, I could see that, and obviously we didn't even talk about the Chris Middleton probably gonna skyrocket in ownership as well if Bledsoe's out. I mean, he's already gotten an ownership bump because of the Giannis news, but if that ownership kind of goes up a little bit, then we could definitely see an ownership spike there as well. So Yeah, I can see it. It's kind of a weird situation, obviously. I'm not trying to like be the bearer of bad news on it. That wasn't what the point was. And I'm not saying that Luka Doncic is not a very good play. He's one of my top rated shooting guards of the day. My point is like, don't just look at what's good about it. You also have to look into every part of the situation and what could end up happening. And if he struggles from the field, he typically, over the course of the season, has done it more at or on the road than at home, as the rest of this Mavericks team has. So let's talk about Donovan Mitchell here. He's basically your point guard.
Yeah, they've got no one left. Rubio out, Exum out, Neto out. That's 3 point guards out. So the ball is going to be in Mitchell's hands a lot. Now, he'll start at the 1. Most likely Royce O'Neal to 2, and then the usual Ingles favors Gobert. But a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, it does increase Mitchell's upside because now you've got the assists in there that with Rubio in the game, simply don't exist for him. That's the first thing I want to point out. Second thing I want to point out is that what is going to happen, because Royce O'Neal he's not really involved on the offensive end. He's a really good defender. He'll make layups, but he's not a big part of the offense. Having said that, it opens up a lot more offense for all those other guys I just mentioned. And so, certainly Mitchell, I wouldn't be too concerned with Lonzo Ball shutting him down. This game is in Utah. You might think, so what? He's still a good defender. Yeah, but Mitchell at home with the ball in his hands in a close game that they're actually favored to win, give me some of that all day. So, I'm in.
Yeah, I love Donovan Mitchell here. Donovan Mitchell here. He's in a lot of my lineups as of right now. I also don't mind if you want to try to get a little sneaky with a drop score on FanDuel, maybe some Kyle Korver. He could get hot from beyond the field. He's going to end up probably playing closer to 30 minutes tonight again as well. It's just there's a lot to like in this game, and it's not just off of the Utah side. KCP, with the loss of all these point guards for the Jazz, guys are going to have to step into roles that they're not used to being, and that usually not only affects them on the offensive end, but could also affect them on the defensive end as well.
Sure, absolutely.
Josh Hart's $5,500. Any interest in him? Hoping he can get hot again?
I don't. It's just so hit or miss. Where is he priced at now?
55.
That's a little more reasonable. He's such a big part of what they do, and I think I don't want to play him because of this. But when LeBron comes back, he's not going to be playable anymore.
No, not at this price. He's not.
Yeah,
obviously.
well, even at all, man. We won't be able to play. He's not gonna flash, unfortunately. But like his job tonight is going to be to guard Donovan Mitchell, and it'll be a combination of him and Lonzo. But if I'm Mitchell and I see those two guys coming at me, I'm like, crap. Can I take the night off? It's not fun. They're both solid on that side of the floor. But yeah, at 5,500, I don't mind that. That's a good price. He won't be touched. Guarantee that.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at, because this is the deepest position of the day. I'm trying to kind of look a little bit at, maybe grabbing, one of these chalky guys, then going and getting and mixing and matching like a chalk shooting guard and then a lower owned one. and I kind of haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it, but these are guys that I have interest in. So, and if you're kind of wondering the difference between Kyle Korver and Josh Okogie, I'm probably taking Korver in a lot of my lineups.
Okay.
Okogie is definitely viable, in my opinion, especially with the amount of minutes that he plays going up against the Dallas defense that we've been saying, for a month, that we're going to be stacking against, especially on the road, where their defensive efficiency is absolutely just dog crap.
It is. It is.
Sterling Brown could be in the conversation, some Patty Connaughton. It's a fluid situation that we're just going to have to watch for.
Don't forget Tony Snell. I'm just kidding.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding.
All right, let's move on to small forwards here. There's a lot to unpack today. Kawhi Leonard against Brooklyn. I know everybody's kind of predicting that this one could blow out. It's almost a 10-point spread. It's 9.5 right now. I don't predict blowouts. Kawhi Leonard's under 10K. If you had your choice between Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant, this might offend a lot of people, but this is what I just want to give you the idea of the shirt that I wore today. Cupcake. I'm going Kawhi over Kevin Durant all day long. Durant won't even be in my player pool.
I'm in the same boat.
Wait.
So I mean, besides the fact that Kawhi has not put up 2 60-point games, fantasy point games, besides the fact that he's going up against Brooklyn, we need to see what happens with Lowry first. Might change a few things, but we don't have any info. But like you said, he's been dealing with back tightness, and that's not a joke, man. And they could literally be warming up an hour before the game, and his back stiffens up, and he's not playing. So let's kind of wait to see how it goes. But when you're sitting there waiting, if Lowry doesn't play, even more Kawhi for me. But I still really like Kawhi.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for me, between these two, they're by far the highest price shooting guards of the night, or small forwards of the night. I mean, it's not even a question. It's not even close to being a question for me. It's Kawhi all day long over Kevin Durant, and it has nothing to do with the blowout. It has absolutely zero to do with the blowout. This is just what I terms a likelihood to get to 55. I think Kawhi has the higher chance. In fact, if we go to the sim model, our DFS Army sim model, and we look at small forwards, it still has Giannis in there. But Kawhi Leonard has a has a 19% chance to get to 50, and Kevin Durant at 3.
Wow.
Cupcake.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about Otto Porter here against Milwaukee. Not going to have to see Giannis. That's a good thing. I want to see... I dropped a little nugget in our personal DMs about an hour ago or so from Michael Gallagher. I'll share this in my channel right now. But it basically says Otto Porter coming off the bench would kind of be a big deal for Middleton too. Otto locked Middleton up last year on 76 possessions. 9 points, 4 from 16 from the field, no threes, 1 free throw made, 1 assist, and 2 turnovers. That's big.
Yeah.
And we haven't really talked a lot this year about Porter being a very good defender, mainly because he hasn't been for the most part. He's been hurt. There's been a lot of stuff like that. But you have to understand that Otto Porter has it in him to be a very, very capable defender and Washington plays a lot better at home.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, the reality is, excuse me. The reality is that, he's been a very good defender for quite a while. But the one thing about that is that he's no longer which is you're alluding to. He's no longer in the starting lineup. And then on top of that, which frankly, guys, it doesn't really affect me. What I mean by that is he's still going to play 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So whether Middleton plays, 6 minutes without him or 4 minutes or whatever it is, fine. But he's still going to see. But this is also an auto that is still not 100%. He's maybe 90, or 85 or whatever. But if Bledsoe sits, it's not going to matter to me. I mean, the ball is going to be in the hands of Middleton and Brogdon the entire game. I mean, where else is the ball going to go? Maybe Ilyasova, maybe a few more shots for Brook Lopez, but I mean, auto or not, I can't. He's got the ball in his hand too much to avoid.
Okay. Now, as far as playing him in DFS lineups, Joe Ingles is 6K on FanDuel. Would you rather have Joe Ingles or Otto Porter? Because I know my answer.
Yeah, I like Bojangles.
Yeah.
I like Bojangles a lot.
I'm not saying that Porter's not a play or even a good play. I'm just saying that Jangles is just, that much better in our eyes right now. Harrison Barnes against Andrew Wiggins or
no, thank
whatever. You. I mean, yeah.
No, thank you.
He's cheap, maybe. If you look at
no, thank you. Move on. I don't want to talk about him. Move on. Next.
Is there a little bit of hostility there?
Next.
All right, let's talk about some of these Utah bigs.
Please.
Jay Crowder, Royce O'Neal, both going to be stepping into bigger minutes. Royce O'Neal's min price probably, honestly, going to be stepping into the starting lineup. I see a lot of Kawhi, KD, Royce O'Neal combos on FanDuel today.
Yeah, so do I. It's funny because on FanDuel in particular, like you're saying, he's O'Neal's minimum price, and you get a drop score. So I'm actually okay with that. I mean, he might get you 20, but and really outside of Kawhi and Durant, there aren't any real true studs in this position. I mean, the next highest price is Ingram at 7K. We have O'Neal projected to play 32 minutes. I mean, 32 minutes at minimum price, you should be able to stumble into value by just standing on the court. So, I mean, yeah, I'm totally okay with it. Who was the other chalk play you said?
It was going to be a high-low combo, like with Durant and Kawhi, and then all the way down to him. But I mean, I do like Jay Crowder as well, especially if he gets going early and gets in the flow of the offense.
So listen, this is where I am going to kind of jump on board. Royce O'Neal is not the play. The play here is going to be Jay Crowder. There's a little bit, there's a few things to uncover, to unwrap here. First of all, I actually have a lineup where I'm playing both Ingles and Crowder. Because take a look at the way the Lakers are built. They have three centers, right? McGee, Chandler, Zubats. And those, McGee is certainly McGee is certainly the kind of staple in terms of starting, and he's the most consistent. Their backup is somewhere between um, Chandler and Zubats. It just depends on the night. Really, it's difficult. But having said that, outside of Gobert and then McGee, the rest are all pretty much. I mean, yeah, you've got some size, but you're gonna see Favors kind of phased out of this game. He's not going to be able to keep up with the pace of this game. And yes, everyone listening, Utah is not a slow-paced team. Please stop saying Utah is slow-paced. They are not a slow-paced team. They are not a top 3 defensive team in the league this year. That is not who Utah is this year. So I don't feel, they're going to be so slow. The Lakers can't play half court. It's going to be a ping-pong match. Okay, I'm stacking the shit out of this game. There's no other way for me to put it. I'm stacking the shit out of this game.
Utah's actually playing at a faster pace than Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Just to give everybody an idea.
I know. That's what I'm trying to like. And by the way, that's why we saw Gobert struggle early in the season, because he was adjusting to that pace. He's not used to playing that. It's a different game for him. So now that they're kind of what's the term I'm looking for? Happy within themselves. Right, happy with the pace that they're playing at, and accustomed to it. You're going to see Favors in this. I think it's going to end up being Crowder who starts. That's what I'm thinking. You're going to have Mitchell and Lonzo. You're going to have O'Neal. You're going to have Hart. You're going to have Ingles and Ingram, and then you're going to have Favors and Kuzma. Maybe he might start, but 3 minutes into the game, it's going to be Crowder coming.
Yeah. The only way that Favors gets a lot of burn is if Rudy Gobert, I think, gets into foul trouble and he ends up playing the 5.
Correct.
Or he decides to throw the talcum powder off the scorer's table again and gets ejected. But, it's possible. Well, yeah, actually it is. We've seen it happen before. But, I don't think this is a Favors game. Yeah, Favors might start, but this pace... I love the game stack here. I'm not sure a lot of people are going to actually stack it, but when you sit here and look at it, man, it is one of those situations where there's a lot to like in this game, and Favors is the one guy I don't like because I think they're going to have to go small except for Rudy Gobert, and that's going to take Favors out of it. There was a point where I woke up this morning, and I don't want you to criticize me on this because I've been looking for one of these days, and we haven't had it yet. I almost thought that Ekpe Udoh, with all the injuries, could end up getting some extra burn, but I kind of backed off from it.
Ooh, that's
now that's bold, but that ain't good. I don't foresee that happening at all, to be completely honest. There's Favors and Gobert would both have to be in foul trouble in order for Udoh to actually get some burn. But I could see, he hasn't played. He's played one game where it was against Houston. He's played in one game this year where he's played more than 10 minutes. I want it to be an Ekpe Udoh night so bad, but it's definitely not tonight.
Look. The little insight for, we don't have a huge audience today, but for everybody watching now and then people who are watching the replay, that's where we get most of our views. I won the biggest tournament of my life playing Udoh at center.
Yeah, last December.
It was last year, yeah. So
we dominated because he was 4% owned, and we called it, and boom.
I think it was less than 4, man. I think he was like a 2.5 or something. It was something crazy, and I'm like, dude, when Udoh gets minutes, first of all, he's a shot blocking machine. I mean, when he starts and he gets 30 minutes, you can book 5 blocks all day long, and he rebounds. And he's not a prolific scorer by any stretch, but just those peripheral stats plus the dunks that he gets, I mean, yeah. But with Gobert and Favors, I don't see it happening. So with Gobert in favor is healthy, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, he's DFS darling. So, all right. Anyways, there's some other small forwards, but we need to move on, so we will. Power forwards, man. Miles Turner's going to be out. Here's my bold call. It's going to be painful, but I think I'm fading Sabonis tonight.
Holy.
It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be painful. Like, this is not for the faint of heart.
Here's why I said holy. Here's why I said holy.
Bold call.
You know why I said holy?
Because you're doing the same thing?
So am I.
Oh, God. We're gluten for punishment.
I mean, well, here's the thing. I don't know. I don't like playing Nick games. I don't like playing Nick games. I mean, first of all, he's now been priced up. He's almost 8K. Okay. In order for me to be able to get 5.5, 6x, which is what I want in my tournaments at minimum, I need the game to be close the entire way. I need him to stay out of foul trouble. I need him to be able to be ball dominant. I need, right? And so, like, $6,500 a bonus, lock, move on, don't think twice.
7K?
7K, closer, 40% exposure, 8K or 7,700 or whatever he is. I got to think about it a little bit more in heightened ownership. And you've got guys like Dario Saric, and you've got guys like Luke Cornett, and you've got guys like who am I missing? Maxi Kleba, and you've got all of these value plays at this position that I'm just like, why am I paying 8K for him? When I want to go get Harden, I want to get Mitchell, I want to get Luka, I want to get Simmons, I want to get Gobert, like I want to get all these guys. Why am I paying 8K for him when I can just go get Kyle O'Quinn and assume the game's not going to be close and assume he's going to play 25 minutes for O'Quinn at half the price?
Yeah, we'll talk about Kyle O'Quinn.
So that's kind of where I'm headed, but
I think I'd rather play for the ownership. I don't know how much of an ownership difference he's going to be, but I think I'd rather play Thaddeus Young. If I was going to a positioned power forward in this game. But, as far as around the same price range, I'd much rather take a chance and pay up for John Collins. I would much rather pay for Draymond Green against the Bulls. I would much rather pay for Serge Ibaka or Pascal Siakam. Kyle Kuzma's on the radar. We're
going to have to take some time and talk about that.
Well, let's go there because we are running short on time, so want to make sure that we get that.
So he's a little bit expensive, Kyle Kuzma is.
A little? But
with those guys that I mentioned, I don't know how many people play Kuzma. And so two things. Number one, he went to college for Utah. So this is a homecoming for him. As was, Detroit, where he grew up. But he went to college in Utah. So, growing up in a city is one thing. Going to college there is another. Because in college, it was all about his basketball life. So all of his, older basketball life people were going to be, in Utah. So that's the first thing. And he does have a lot of friends and family there. Second thing is, Donovan Mitchell and Kyle Kuzma are really, really close friends. I don't think people know that. Like, really close friends. So you think, okay, so what the hell does them being friends have to do with me putting him on my roster? Very similar to that day that I told you guys to go play Tobias Harris versus Charlotte. It's when these guys are friends and they get on the court, they want to obliterate each other. It's the way it goes in this league. So I'm gonna have a decent amount there. That's to me a direct pivot off of Sabonis in tournaments would be Kyle Kuzma for a few $100 less.
Okay. You want to talk about Kleber real quick?
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of I'm good on that comments here, and I get it. I mean, you got to understand something though when it comes to him as a player in particular. First of all, he plays Minnesota. What does that mean? That means he's going to see a lot of Dario Saric, guys. I mean, when there's a forward on the slate that's 4K that has shown 35 or more upside, who's going to have Dario Saric on him for 26, 28 minutes of that game, I want it. So if you want to pass, cool, I get it. But I want to play Kleber, like, a lot, because the value is certainly there. To answer the question about John Collins, yes, I do like John Collins, but he's more expensive even than Sabonis. So that's it's going to be on Fanduel. I know you play DK Goku, but it's going to be difficult to pay that price for him.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people are going to go to John Collins. So that's kind of why I like him. Like the pay up pivot over Sabonis.
Sure.
Maxi is okay. So first off, anytime your name is Maximilian, and you go, it is his name. I swear to you, I will put the link. His legal name is Maximilian.
Oh boy!
And you go by Maxi, and I almost went down a wrong path, but.
Yeah, pretty close.
That's just one thing. When you look at it, when the look, this is one of those things where Rick Carlisle could pull a fast one on us, and all of a sudden, you've got. You've got Dorian Finney-Smith and Dwight Powell.
Yeah, it's possible.
Playing over Maxi.
No, but listen, Carlisle really, really likes Maxi. I mean, I've heard him say it. I've seen the rotations. Powell, he loves Powell backing up DeAndre Jordan. And Dwight Powell can be that small ball backup 5. Maxi can't. Maxi's a forward. He's not a center. He's not going to do the dirty work that Powell will do. So that's why I think from a rotational standpoint, it just doesn't make sense for him to go away from his fundamentals, which is he's been doing. So I don't. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
I just want him to bring up Costas and play him. Like, I'm looking forward to after the All-Star break when they bring him up for his 45 days and we get to see what he's all about.
You're talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yep.
Oh, because when you say Costas, I think of Kufis.
No, other one.
Because I've had many a good nights with Costa Kufis.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how that goes. It should be fun.
All right, let's move on to centers here. Obviously, there's a lot to get to, or there's a lot to unpack. Joel Embiid versus Atlanta, guys, he's in play. Don't need to worry about that. Rudy Gobert, we talked a lot about him.
Locked and loaded.
And the Lakers, and we've harped on that over and over and over. Yusuf Nurkic against Bismack Biyombo, Willie Hernan-Gomez. I don't mind going there if you want to pivot off of something. Clint Capella against Tristan Thompson is a decent option. But there's a guy that I want to spend a lot of time on here, and he's not even my favorite play of the day, but he's been talked about a lot, and I've heard a lot of people mention him already. Let's talk about Kyle O'Quinn.
Wow, that's
he's not my favorite play of the day, but
nice to start.
Well, like look, the top is the top. I mean, do you want to talk about how we should fade Karl-Anthony Towns tonight? We can talk about that.
I mean, I don't necessarily know that I'll 100% fade. I'm going to want to have some exposure to Cat. I mean, obviously with Teague and now Rose back, it will take away from him, yes.
That was the reason why I was fading him.
Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, DeAndre Jordan on the other side. So that's really enticing. But by the way, it's enticing to play both of those guys in that matchup. But DJ's, what is it, $7,300? That's appealing. But he's not, neither him or Embiid, frankly, and are my favorite centers in terms of points per dollar.
No, neither are.
For me, it's Gobert, and then my second one is Nurkic. Those are the guys that I like. As far as price per dollar goes, I mean, DeAndre Jordan's certainly there. Tristan Thompson, $6,200 still. Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. If Enes Kanter can put his finger down his throat and throw up all that crap he ate yesterday on his Instagram account, and be able to get to see the court and play a little bit. If you guys haven't seen that, it's freaking hilarious. He went on his Instagram and he put, cheat day, and he ate like 8 hamburgers with like egg in them, and he just went overboard. And then all of a sudden he wasn't able to show up to practice because he wasn't feeling well, and then he's now questionable. So, it's just funny stuff. But if he's able to puke out some of that food, I like Enes Kanter here at 6,500 a lot, actually. You're going to see some more shots for Brook Lopez with Giannis not in the game. I like that a lot. So there's a lot to like here. Kyle O'Quinn, if it wasn't New York, I wouldn't even be interested. But it is New York, and I am interested. So I'm with you there. But he's far from a top player because a lot has to happen for him to get 30 minutes. Like, it's going to have to be Sabonis getting in foul trouble in order for him to come in and really have that massive game. Or the game needs to be a blowout. One of those two scenarios.
No, I would agree with you. Any interest in Thomas Bryant? I know he's 5,900. We don't typically like guys that rely a lot on rebounding and stuff, but in your opinion, is he athletic enough to kind of hang with Brook out on the perimeter and still be productive?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think he gets a bad rap. He's not. He's not a non. What's I'm looking for here? He's not a non-athletic big. He is an athletic big. He plays pretty well on the perimeter for considering his size. In fact, he even shoots threes. So I'm okay with it. I don't think that he'll struggle with Brook. I think Brook might actually struggle with him a little bit, to be honest. But it's not like Jan Mahimni is that much more mobile. A little bit, but not that much more mobile. So I'm fine with it. But I'd rather play Tristan Thompson, over him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got a little bit of interest here. It's, a tournament type play, obviously, where you're looking for low ownership while everybody goes all different directions. It's kind of who's going to really think of Thomas Bryant on that team? Usually not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Or in that game because of all the other, options and everything else going on. So, all right, let's talk about Kylo Quinn, shall we? And then we'll get out.
Yeah. Sure.
Kylo Quinn is going back to the Knicks, where they basically said they did not want him. He was not, they didn't want to pay him, basically. So he took the money that he could get in Indiana, and he's now going back to the Garden for the first time.
Yeah.
Miles Turner is out, so this opens up a lane for Kylo Quinn. Currently have him pegged at 16 minutes. And that might be right around, he might get 18. Depending on how the game goes, he could get more. He's 4,400 on FanDuel, so he's not a lock by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. And I understand the appeal in playing a guy that has revenge on his mind. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that.
Okay.
I would much rather play him on DK where he's 3,700 and I can get bonuses. But at 4,400, when I've got, I've got guys like Kevon Looney right around that same price tag, and I got Bismack Biyombo that's cheaper, or I go and I can pay up. I don't know if I'm going to really be playing a lot of Kylo Quinn just because of a narrative in hopes that he gets more burn in a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like kind of your only hope. And I don't know if I like that, man. I mean, I don't like hoping it blows out.
Yeah, I don't like playing guys and hoping that it blows out. Unless it's like a 2-game slate or one of the later slates, stuff like that. It's just not something that I really like to do. If he was to all of a sudden start and maybe they put Sabonis on the bench or Thad Young on the bench, which I don't think is going to happen. But if it were to somehow happen like that, then I might have a little bit more interest. But then again, so will the rest of the DFS industry.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
So, anything else before we get out? I know we ran a little bit long today, but we were a little late, so we owed it to the folks.
No, I don't really have anything else. I mean, we'll have our sheets up today, probably about 90 minutes before the first game tips off. The only other big that I wanted to talk about is in a game stack scenario, also for pretty cheap, is going to be Jared Allen. We've seen centers. We've seen centers do pretty well versus Toronto. We've also seen all kinds of other positions do well, but particularly consistently, we've seen centers, and so that's that's something that I have some interest in.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I see the interest there, but I think with him being more of an athletic type of center, a guy that can move, a guy that really doesn't shoot from the perimeter.
Definitely
doesn't. It's not something I like because of the fact that he's not going up against Jonas Valanciunas. He's going up against,
Serge.
He's going up against Serge, which is a pretty good defender in himself, and then probably going to go up against Pascal Siakam, who's a long, lengthy, athletic defender himself. Now, can he do well? Yes, he can, especially on FanDuel where you can get there with like the block shots. Like the guy just knows how to hold a block party. But I put it along the same lines as like my Thomas Bryant interest. And they're right there both at the same price too. They're $100 difference from each other. Now, Jared Allen does have the better matchup. It's just one of those same types of plays where there's a high probability this could end up only meeting value or blowing up in your face.
Sure.
But in the case that it doesn't, he's going to be like 2% owned and could end up catapulting you to the top to help you win a tournament.
This is interesting. Last little non-NBA talk. It looks like Russell Martin got traded to the Dodgers.
So he's going back home, huh?
Going back home, yeah.
Or not home. He's actually from Toronto, but he's going back to where he started his career.
Right, going back to LA, yeah.
Well, you had to get a backstop after letting Grandal walk.
Yeah, which I'm not happy about, but yeah.
So, alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Sorry I couldn't partake in the chat. Going to have to find out exactly what's going on. This will be up here in just a little bit on iTunes and all the other platforms. Make sure you tune in and check us out in our chat. Today's Freebie Friday, so if you're not a member of the DFS Army, make sure you take advantage of that and use the promo code podcast 2019. You'll get 20% off your first month. For myself, for Bear, for the DFS Army, we gone.